Thank you very much. I think when Brian was talking to the industrial hygienist in the audience, I think I was the only one he was talking to. But now I appreciate your hanging in here for the last presentation of the day. I know it's a long day, but I think this is something that I look forward to every year, and I hope it's something you look forward to as well. The big reveal about the Safe and Sound Award. It's now co-sponsored by NIHL, NHCA, and KOC. So we're really proud and pleased to have them join us in giving this award out every year. My name is Scott Schneider, and I'm right now the chair of the expert committee that looks at the applications, the nominations, and gives the award out. And here's our expert committee right here, and several of them are here. Several couldn't make it this year, but I know Rick and Christy and Deanna are here. And now, this year, we've also added Laurie Wells, so we're really proud to have her on our committee as well. I know she's here too. So just to briefly go over the objectives, our initiative objectives are to recognize innovation in organizations that document measurable achievements in hearing loss prevention, and to share those strategies and leading-edge information widely. And you can look on our webpage, www.SafeinSound.US, to see, learn about the award, the criteria that we're using, and also to see information about the past award winners. I think this is our 11th year that we're giving the award out, so it's really been pretty well established now. And we give out awards in two different categories. One of them is an excellence award in hearing loss prevention for mostly for companies and individual workplaces that are doing exceptional work. And then secondly, we give awards for innovation in hearing loss prevention. And this is for any industrial sector, any institution or individuals that are doing amazing, innovative work. So individuals or companies can be nominated by somebody outside the company, and we do want to hear from you, and we do want to get nominations. And I'll tell you what our deadlines are. If a third party is nominating somebody for the award, we want to get nominations by June 7th of this year. This is for next year's award. And if you're self-nominating, you can complete the application by July 15th. And on our webpage, there's some very, very useful tips on how to create a strong application. And I'll make this pitch again later at the end. But we really do find that this conference has a lot of people who are really talented, who also know companies, who know individuals who are doing amazing work in hearing loss prevention. And we rely on you to help us, steer us to really good candidates, so we can find those people that are doing amazing work and give them this award to recognize their work, but also to help support them and support the work that they're doing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Captain David Byrne from NIHL to talk about this year's award winner. David.
Yeah, I'm here to represent NIHL for the award presentation. And in the past, you know, we've had Dr. John Howard, the NIHL director himself, come and present the award, which shows just how committed NIHL is to the Safe and Sound Award program. When he was unavailable, he would send Dr. Margaret Kitt. Her job title is the Deputy Director for Program at NIHL. She's essentially the director's right-hand person. You may remember Margaret. She's kind of a short lady. She's also a commissioned officer. She's an admiral, and it's a pretty high rank. It's equivalent to a general in the Army or the Air Force. So when they asked me to do this, I thought, hey, I must be in line for promotion here. So you got to be in an 07 Philip. All right. Well, everybody laughed. I mean, they laughed too when I asked them about it. So I'm just going to read the script now. NIHL, the National Hearing Conservation Association, and Council for Accreditation and Occupational Hearing Conservation are pleased to jointly announce the recipients of the 2019 Safe and Sound Excellence in Hearing Loss Prevention Awards, honoring those who have shown extraordinary commitment to the prevention of noise-induced hearing loss through innovative practices, policies, and unique advances in the field. NIHL thanks KAOC and NHCA for their participation in the effort and for organizing the award presentation, and all who encouraged nominations for the award. The 2019 Safe and Sound Award for Innovation is being awarded to Kurt Yankaskas of the Office of Naval Research and the Noise-Induced Hearing Loss Research Program. I still have more to read first. Approximately 1 in 4 sailors suffer from noise-induced hearing loss. The Noise-Induced Hearing Loss Research Program adopted a systems approach as its innovative foundation. The approach maximized the use of various funding strategies within the Department of the Navy and Department of Defense, and not only expanded partnerships, but also fostered collaborations among principal investigators. The program funds a wide portfolio of research, including noise control for ships, aircraft, and equipment, noise-induced hearing loss surveillance and risk evaluation, medical treatment of noise-induced hearing loss, and improved hearing protection for Navy personnel. The Noise-Induced Hearing Loss Program is the first Department of Defense program to list tinnitus as an area of basic research. Creative solutions for difficult problems like ship noise control have been developed from work funded by the research portfolio. Some of the innovations include provision of advanced hearing protection to over 6,000 sailors, provision of a flight deck helmet with custom hearing protection, communication system, and dosimetry to aircraft carrier flight deck personnel, and noise control solutions that directly benefited over 1,400 sailors who sleep and work directly under the flight deck. These evidence-based solutions have been implemented in the field and undergo continuous rigorous evaluation. The program's focus on the costs of both noise-induced hearing loss and tinnitus to the Navy have led to unique emphasis on preventing auditory injury. Other innovations include the Warfighter's Hearing Health Instructional Primer, the WHIP training app, and Designer Noise, a program for computer-aided design of ships to include noise control features. While this pioneering portfolio has the primary objective to benefit service personnel, the research results are directly applicable to the civilian world and led to the transfer of technologies and interventions to general industry. The accomplishments of Kurt Yankaskas in the Noise-Induced Hearing Loss Research Program are numerous and significant. Congratulations. It was a great pleasure to have Kurt Yankaskas.
Captain, thank you very much. Let's see if you really did believe me. Thank you. NIHL, NHCA, KAOC, Scott, John, thanks for putting me on the test post. I'll explain that later. Christy, and all of you. It's pretty amazing to be here. And I'd like to refer you back 16 years or 15 years and 50 weeks. This is slide 4 out of my presentation here. This is what started it. There's the flight deck. There's the launching officer. The wing of that F-14 just passed over him. What's the sound level at that point? I don't know. We haven't been able to measure it because we don't have dosimeters that go to 160 dBA plus. Now, the other part that I will tell you that is I was 10 feet away from him. That F-14 wing went right over me. I was crouching on the flight deck. So that's what our sailors do, day in and day out, launching these aircrafts around the world. This is my introduction to that. This is also where I had a temporary threshold shift. Yes, I had foam earplugs on, double hearing protection properly, temporary threshold shift. That was an adventure. Stealing from Lori from 15 years ago, she had the slide showing different hearing levels on there. So the part that I saw was that through the profiles, that's what our sailors, our Marines, our soldiers, and our airmen, there are different hearing profiles that they have to communicate. Each dot will represent a vowel or consonant that they have to hear in communications. This is about communications. If I wear my earplugs, which are custom, the red lines, I'm functionally deaf. I can't hear what's going on clearly. I had my other set of customs measured this morning, and I get a par of 35 dB. So, in the meantime, somebody's got to direct that airplane how to land on the flight deck, or a diver in a dive helmet, which is 92 to 94 dBA underwater. They've got to communicate with topside. So, I work for the Office of Naval Research. We were chartered in 1940s. We do all the R&D for the Navy and the Marine Corps. I'm in the Warfighter Performance Department, so we're concerned about training, communications in high noise environments. I run the Noise-Induced Hearing Loss program. It was established in 2008, same time frame as the Hearing Center of Excellence. We've worked together for a decade now. It's been an adventure. This is a direct response to tactical jet aircraft noise. It's a multidiscipline systems approach. Who am I? I'm the program officer, as they call it. I'm an ocean engineer by degree. I have a pilot's license. I'm a scuba diver. That allows me to walk into other fields. So it becomes a truly multidiscipline approach. What do? It's really multidiscipline. Every system, every science, engineering field, audiology, psychology. As mentioned, we did Captain Vic Smith, who took me out on the George Washington, had tinnitus very severely, and so that was my impetus to put it in a broad agency announcement. So I was the first one to there, and it opened those doors to start that research. We're broke down into 4 lanes: noise source reduction, incidence and susceptibility, medical prevention and treatment, and this is the older slide that doesn't have PPE in it. At any rate, so to address direct U.S. Navy operational issues, performance, there have been aircraft incidents or breakdown in communication cost aircraft. We use small business innovative research projects and STTRs. And one of the things in the lower picture down there, I do get asked to go to the high schools and the colleges, and how do I introduce these young people into areas of research, areas of engineering? So what's the problem? It's just noisy out there. It's incredibly noisy out there. So what happens is the noise levels in engine rooms are anywhere from 110 to 118 dBA. Sorry that these slides didn't quite translate. The flight deck is anywhere from 126 to 160 plus. Aircraft cockpits are 110 to 120 dBA, and the Navy band also can do 118 to 126. What happens? Doug Brogart the other day and John Zeriaks from the Navy lab have shown that if you can't hear what's going on, you can't hit the target. And more likely, you're apt to hit one of your buddies. It's called friendly fire. Grinders and Peters was the early study in 1990, and that's been the fundamental crux of why I've gone into this work. So once you go past 0 dB of signal noise, your auditory performance, your command performance starts rolling off. In the meantime, there's the health impact, which we've heard for the last 2 days. I maintain those numbers keep going up every year. I've taken my own arithmetic, gone into some of the reports. I think that's $6 billion a year or so. There are other people who disagree with that number, but that's okay. Give me a better number. So it's a performance issue. It's a health issue. And then before I go to the next slide, a friend of me last night when I was talking to him about this, he said, how does the turtle get on top of the fence post? Not by itself. So all those logos are meant to convey those people who all help put me on top of the fence post. I tried to do the best that I can to put the logos up there. I'm looking at over 100 projects over the last 10 years. Figure out that I'm spending $5 to $7 million a year on research grants and 57 PIs. That doesn't count their postdocs, their technicians, or anybody else who's in the lab who's helping them. So it's a lot of moving parts. So when I look at it, again, the funding mechanisms, we use the research grants. You can go to the ONR website. There's a BAA page. Go look it up. The SBIR process, most of you are familiar with it. It's a project. If you think you've got an idea, you apply for it and submit. DERP is the Defense University Research Instrumentation Program. If you need a piece of equipment for your lab, it's on the website. You put in a grant proposal. So I'm in the business of buying confocal microscopes. Seems to be the hot item for me. And then the Young Investigator Program. That's a hot-running, newly minted professor, PhD, and it's a very national level competition, and the competition is stiff. So that's Brendan Cox with her confocal microscope at the University of Illinois. And that's a picture from Donna Whitland showing the balling up of the nerve fibers detaching from the hair cells that I think was talked about yesterday. I work across the federal enterprise, Defense Health Agency, Joint Program 5 and 6, which is 5 and 8, preventative medicine and rehabilitative medicine, and Hearing Center of Excellence, Naval Air Command, Naval Sea Systems Command, Naval Research Lab. That is John O'Donnell kind of doing this to me. It's actually a very friendly conversation while we were down at Quantico. I think Captain Murphy, did you take that picture, sir? Did you take that picture? Could be. NCA, our Bureau of Mines, the Army Corps of Engineers, and that's Bill and his company were down there at Quantico measuring the noise on the training range as we go forward. What do I do? What am I proud of? It's a knowledge exchange. I've had 6 program reviews. The program reviews are about 80 to 100 of PIs, other government folks, and academics. And that's where we give each other half an hour to describe our work and have, shall we say, an occasionally highly energetic discussion over the results and the interpretation of the results, and maybe could you do it a little bit this way or a little bit that way. Very well attended. The last one was in Portland, Oregon. What a show. It was great. And I got some positive nuance there. The other thing that we do is we support many different standards over the year. Here are 5 of them that we have in play. And how do I support that? Well, I'm either on the panel, paying for somebody to be on the panel, paying for some of their time, or collaborating with my peers in DoD and elsewhere. That's kind of the programmatic stuff. What do? Source noise reduction. I came out of the anti-submarine warfare community. Hunt for Red October, if you want to think of it that way. So, I know about ship noise control. I know about making things quiet. I had an advantage, an opportunity to develop designer noise through an SBIR topic. After it was awarded to the company, and I became a program officer, we need to do a little bit of verification of the model. So they went to 191 sensors and outfitted it under 21% of the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. Okay, what does that mean? An aircraft carrier flight deck is 4.5 acres. That's a lot of space. Thank goodness for fiber optic cable. So we mapped it out, and we found out where the energy is. So if that's the flight deck and the overhead, you think where the jet is setting, that's where it's going to come from. It's going to come down there. No, it comes from that spot and not those two. Why? The furniture are on those two, and those are resonant, and that's where all the energy comes from. You get that just by walking into the room, and there goes the F-14 or the F-18 lighting up. And how annoying is that? Well, depending on which berthing space you're in, it's either 92, 96, or 102 dBA for 30 to 40 seconds. What do? They tie down the aircraft to the cat. They put the cat under tension, and then they put the engine up to full power, and they hold it there for 40 seconds. And then hopefully, when the cat lets go, the airplane takes off. All that energy comes down in there, and they do that 24 hours a day. The other thing that got to be pretty interesting in that is the automotive energy industry has this 3D acoustic audio. It's a black sphere. It's the lower part. No, I'm not going to bother with that. On the right-hand side, second picture down, black sphere with all the Death Star. It's got 32 microphones on it and a camera. It takes a picture of the room and then superimposes the acoustic field onto that picture. And you can see the hot spots on the light switches, on doors, or different parts. That tells you exactly where to put the treatment on it. And so what I would do as a design engineer, I would just treat all 4 bulkheads. But if just 2 of them are the hot ones, then I know how to go right there. And it makes it, saves a lot of weight. The Navy jet engines, why don't you just make them quieter? Piece of cake. Absolute piece of cake. All you got to do is clean up the flow. So that's what we did. They developed chevrons on there, cleans up the turbulence coming out of the nozzle, and you get 3 dB out of it. That's a start. You can do more things, but these are tactical jet aircraft, and the pilots think they need more power and more fuel and more bombs. So we've got some obstacles that will come there from the previous talk. The dive helmet. At 90 feet, every time you inhale, it's 92 to 94 dBA. You do that 20 times a minute, that's a lot of noise exposure. That's why divers have hearing loss. It's high levels. They don't like wearing earplugs because of barotrauma and the pressure changes. So what do? You take the muffler that you had in the F-18, redesign it just a little bit, maybe a lot bit, and you put it inside the helmet. And we got about 15 dB quieting right now. Where are we today in that? Okay, remember I work for the Navy, a little bit of bureaucracy on there, and we were doing the familiarization dives. In other words, we're going to use student divers, as in academic student divers, and we're going to test it to them before we let our Navy divers test it. Think about that for a minute. It's just the way it works. So you have to know how to overcome these hurdles. So that's just a touch of some of the noise control things that we've done. Susceptibility. Need, EDO 10X, the WHIP app, the hearing loss simulator from Lynn Marshall, the flight deck dosimetry that we were doing over there. So these are all the different ways. Where are the hearing exposures come from? And we don't really know. I mean, the talk that I was hoping to hear was 85 was just a number. It is just a number. I don't know if it's a good number. I don't know if it's a good or bad number. It's the only number we have, so that's the number I work toward. So, can we do better? I'm funding long-term research, looking at different populations in another country. I'll leave it at that. And trying to see if I can fine-tune that number. But if you're going to do dosimetry, I will tell you one thing. You better do the whole day. absolutely do the whole day. Because when these sailors go down to the mess deck for a little bit of rest and food for maybe 2 hours, with 200 of their best friends, the noise levels are 92 to 94 dBA, pretty continuous. So, if you're going to go on a ship and you do dosimetry, 24 hours, mandatory. Just have to do that. And then we've done some other studies. The Marine Recruit study, we took, this is where it kind of blends in from susceptibility to the medical side. And we're looking at using N-acetylcysteine and trying to see if there's any efficacy with that. Another really long story, which we won't go through here. But we have all the saliva samples. And so we collected those, and we were in the process of working those through. And that brings me to the medical prevention. Who is susceptible? Do we really know? Well, out of that study, we did find some things. Again, we heard over the last couple of days, Sharon Pajal and Charlie Lieberman's work about symptomatopathy or hidden hearing loss. It's real. I think it exists. I don't hear so good once the noise levels get up to a certain point. And again, some great pictures from Donna Whitland showing again the nerve cell fibers balling up and starting to retract. So that's at the mouse model and the rat model levels. And then the pharmaceuticals that are going into clinical trials 10 years ago, we were doing, I was funding the animal studies on that and looking at how that was going forward. So when I looked at the data that came out of the Marine Recruit study, this is by Harvard, Rick Rogers, we identified 18 new genes in this that hadn't been previously reported. So there's more moving parts in the system than we know about. So that led us to another place in metabolic pathways. So if you look in the upper half and the right half of that quadrant, those were all the genetic studies that were done from other projects, not my projects, other federal agencies. And the ones in the lower left-hand corner, those came out of the Marine Recruit study. We started looking at the metabolic pathways. And what we started to find was, when you go down that pathway, there's a protein called nucleolin in there, and if it's generally diffuse throughout the cell. However, if it starts gathering in the nucleus, that cell is over with. So what we're trying to do is figure out how to keep it diffuse and look at the energy mechanisms to keep it sustained and throughout the slide. Well, what about PPE? You got to get somebody to wear it, and I don't care what you wear as long as you wear something. Because we were looking at really high noise levels, Valerie Bjorn and company looked at the number of sailors on an aircraft carrier, and less than 8% wore them correctly. So, foam earplugs. So, from that point of view, what is something better? I had an opportunity to work with some companies in custom earplugs. It was Flightcom and Westone, and we piloted a project on the LCS-1, that's USS Freedom. We outfitted the entire ship with custom earplugs, 3 sets. So out of those 3 sets, we had a sleep plug, another plug that did about 26 dB of attenuation, and then the other one was a communications plug that just happened to fit into an iPod. Very well received. Sailors liked their tunes. That was the big breakthrough. By the way, I'll come back to Lynn Marshall's hearing loss simulator. She'd give you a hearing loss profile, throw in a little tinnitus just for some tunes, and then play your favorite song, which at that point sounded horrible. Sailors really loved to listen to their tunes, and after a year, we knew where all 86 sets were. What a tremendous success. And then we rolled out 6,000 of them to the aircraft carrier. Now we're trying to reinvigorate that process and go forward. That's what I used. I had mine measured this morning again. I'm a big proponent for well past the second bend and deeper if you can go that way. The optical scanning systems came out of NAMAIR through a series of SBIR projects. That is Otoscan, and Vero was actually, was an independent start on it. But again, you saw those in the display room downstairs, or at least I did this week. So these are the types of things that we do rather than doing the solid impression. That's just the highlight. I think in the full data sets that I have, there's about 40 other slides that show the different projects that are going. What's the future? Well, what a really great opportunity. It certainly, again, thank you for recognizing that the U.S. Navy actually does do some really serious research and that you found it of value. What am I going to do with it? Well, I started the story with a colleague of mine, Captain Smith, had tinnitus. And what if I could devise a treatment over 20 days that suppressed your tinnitus score by half? Would that be worth pursuing? Would it? So we're doing that. We're trying that. And I'm not going to tell you what the secret sauce is, because it would be too early. But we're looking at inflammation. And inflammation affects a lot of the things that go on in hearing loss and diseases. So with that, there's my contact information. I'd like to thank everybody. Oh, these are your slides? Oh, I'm done. Thanks.
I do want to mention before we go that in your international journal, the last article is a review article that Kurt wrote about noise control, and all of his slides will be on our website soon, I'm sure. Before we go, I just wanted to remind you, if you know of individuals or companies that you think are worthy of this award, I would encourage you to go to our website, SafeinSound.US, and consider nominating them. The deadlines are in June and July. And I wanted to thank you for listening and thank you for supporting the award. And for those of you who are on the Safe and Sound Expert Committee, please come up after this for a photograph. And those of you who have gotten the award in the past, I'd like you to come up as well. We're going to do some short videos. Thank you very much.
Before I give you a code, I just want to add one quick comment. It's not in Kurt's slides. As somebody who's worked with him almost all of that 10 years, there's no slide on there about all of the work that he puts in every single day to fight tooth and nail for every dollar that he gets in that program. And so I'd just like to thank you personally for all of the personal passion that you throw into maintaining that program.